Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us again for another annual mayoral State of the City watch party. Here this year, hosted again by the Libraries Transform SD Coalition. I am Patrick Stewart. I'm the CEO of the San Diego Public Library Foundation, and it's great seeing so many friends and familiar faces in the attendees chat. Welcome. We're glad to have you join us this evening. Libraries Transform SD is your advocacy coalition made up of the Library Foundation, the Friends of the San Diego Public Library, and the Library Commission. Before I introduce my coalition partners here, I'd like us to take a quick moment to recognize any current or former Library Foundation trustees, members of the Friends, or members of the Commission. If you are any of those, please take a quick minute, post a quick hi in the chat so that we can recognize and thank you for volunteering to support our library. My partners here with me this evening are Joan Reese, President of the Friends of the San Diego Public Library, and Wendy Urashima-Khan, Chair of the Library Commission. We have a few minutes to spend with you before the mayor's address, and we'd like to share some of the important aspects of our advocacy with you. Joan, I'd like to start with you. If you can take a minute to introduce yourself, the role of the Friends, your role with the Friends, and share with us one of the most important financial aspects of the library's budget each year, that being the $1 million match. Share with us what this means, what it is, and why it's important to the library and it's important to the Friends.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm Joan Reese, as Patrick said, President of the Friends of the San Diego Public Library, and we're particularly enthusiastic about the possibilities of increasing the amount of matching funds for the next fiscal year. Historically, our organization, together with our affiliate and associate Friends chapters at each of the libraries, has made a real effort to take advantage of the opportunity to make our hard-earned funds go further in our support of the library by donating through the matching funds program. In a typical year, Friends groups raise and donate over $500,000 to be matched by the city. Since the inception of the matching funds program, the amount allocated from the city's general fund annually to match donations in support of the library has been $1 million. It's been flat for the 18 years, except there were a couple of years in there when the amount was a little lower or slightly higher. And every year, I'm proud to tell you the Friends have risen to the challenge. I do want to tell you about the updated matching funds policy because I think that's really important and very compelling. It was adopted by the City Council a couple of years ago and increased the sorts of expenditures that could be paid for through matching funds, and also, very importantly, revised the formula to help improve equity across the system. This was a win-win for our libraries and for everyone who loves and uses libraries. And I just want to illustrate how this works. So currently, if a Friends chapter or an individual donates let's say $10,000 to support acquisition of books or programs or computers, or even better lighting for their branch library, which we've just done at our branch library, $500,000 will be added to that $10,000 donation and deposited in that library's account to make $15,000 available. And another $5,000 will be added to a pooled fund. And then once a year, this pooled fund is divvied up among all the branch libraries according to a formula that takes into account demographic factors, including per capita income and population. So last year, as an example, the City Heights Library received the largest distribution from the pooled fund. Which was a real help in terms of improving equity. So as I mentioned, for each and every one of the past 18 years, the Friends, together with the foundation and other generous donors, have met the challenge of the $1 million match, and we've not left any funds on the table unmatched. In fact, it's not uncommon to capture that entire match well in advance of the end of the fiscal year. It is time to increase the city match dollars. This will encourage additional philanthropy in support of our libraries, of all of our libraries. And so we're advocating that the city's contribution to matching funds be increased by $200,000 for the upcoming fiscal year, and then stepwise by $200,000 for each of the next few years, so that by fiscal year 2028, it's up to $2 million. And we will be happy to try to meet that challenge of matching the $2 million.
That's fantastic. I mean, I can tell you personally, in speaking with so many, as you know, speaking with so many of our branch managers and librarians that work in the community, the matching funds are a game changer for being able to provide some of these critical programs, on the ground. And it's a game changer for also creating connection with community and the friends groups, and to be able to add more to that. That's better for everyone, better for the entire community, the library, and program participants. So thank you, Joan. Thank you very much. Wendy, please take a minute to introduce yourself, the commission, the role that you have in the commission, and then if you can talk a little bit about our materials, right? Our books and materials, they are a vital, important part of how our library serves the community, obviously. Why is this an important conversation that we end up having every year with our elected officials?
Because it's Groundhog Day. Anyway, thanks, Patrick, and thanks, Joan. Really good to see everyone. As Patrick mentioned, I'm Wendy Urushima-Khan, chair of the Library Commission. In my day job, I get the pleasure of running the Epilepsy Foundation, but one of my very most favorite roles is serving the library. And I've retired San Diego Public Library Foundation Board of Trustee after 6 years and been on the commission for many years. And our role on the commission is to advise the council and mayor about policy. And so how do we help lead our libraries? And on behalf of the commission, we are, first of all, really, really thankful to the foundation, the chief fundraising arm, and to our friends of the San Diego Public Library Foundation. Without the foundation and without the friends, all of the work that our incredible library staff would not be possible. But I want to also just quickly shout out to our library staff. It's no joke. I lost track of how many days we have been in COVID, and I don't need to tell all of you, but what that means for operating a library is that our staff has had to be so creative and innovative and flexible. And one of the things that is so crucial, and we're just adamant about it at the foundation, is access and equity and really serving anybody that walks through our door. And as our head librarian, Misty Jones, says, it's not always about how many hours, but when we're open, what are we doing with those hours? How are we serving everybody that walks through our doors? And while some of our branches are closed or reduced hours, we are still serving people digitally. So it's just imperative that we have the tools and resources to serve our growing library community. We saw as soon as the shutdown happened, the library really pivoted to say, how can we get our resources to people digitally? What do you need? Do you need a laptop? Do you need a hotspot? Do you need homework help online? And as a parent who's had a child that had to learn online for a whole year, our libraries were really just a saving grace. So as some of you may know, it's hard to believe, but the library department's share of the general fund is below 4%. So what that means is, in fact, in fiscal year 22 in the adopted budget, the library's budget was only 3.51% of the general fund spending, the lowest percentage in a decade, unfortunately. And so as we recently saw in the library master plan findings, and thank you to many of you for participating in our listening tours and commenting, and we are very appreciative, and we want to thank the mayor and council for adding additional investments to the online resources. But the sad state of affairs is that our material budget still lags behind. But thankfully, thanks to all of you, with the support of the foundation and the friends, our San Diego Public Library Foundation per capita operating budget is still less than 70% of the California state average. So what this boils down to is it affects things like having our materials in multiple languages. Think about the languages you speak at home. Think about the languages in our Asian community. When I was leading the Asian chamber, there are 15 different languages, right? Or probably more than that. So again, our library staff is very innovative and they work very hard, but creativity only gets you so far. So what happens is with the declining purchasing power, and it's a really exorbitant cost for online materials, without an increase to the materials budget, the library department will have to reduce access to popular things like digital databases, online tutoring, and ebooks. And right now, we think that's more crucial than ever in terms of learning, looking for jobs, being supported with your homework. So what you all can do to make a difference, and I know Patrick will talk about that, but there are many ways to get involved in filling out postcards and showing up at budget hearings. And so when our elected officials hear from all of you, we elect them to be in office, it makes a difference. So just thank you to all of you for joining. And look, Jerry is already posting in the chat. Very well done. Teed that up for you. Thank you for continuing to support our libraries. Thank you to the foundation. Thank you to the Friends. Thank you to our amazing library staff. Without all of you, we would not be here. And hi to my former library board members and volunteers. So thanks, Patrick.
Wendy, thank you. Yeah, no, the advocacy efforts are really crucial, right? You know, your advocacy efforts, they play such a crucial and important part in ensuring, as Wendy was saying, that our library has the tools and the resources necessary to continue serving our community in the very impactful way that we see every single day. So, you know, every year, our LibrariesTransformSD coalition makes it easy for you, the public, to lend your voice in supporting our library. And again, this year, we'll be sending you an advocacy toolkit. And this has proven to be a really important way to let our city council know just how important the library is to you. In the toolkit again this year, we will include pre-addressed, pre-stamped postcards, as you see here, to send to each council member and to the mayor's office. The sheer volume, I have to say this, last year you all sent 5,400 postcards to our city council offices and to the mayor's office. And as you've seen, Councilmember Raul Campillo here showing some of the postcards that his office received. This led to a humorous, yet, you know, I gotta be honest, a very serious dialogue among council members about just how important the library is and that we won't tolerate cuts to the library yet again to balance the budget. This is very important. And you sending these postcards in the toolkit also are scripts and ways that you can call your council members, email your council members, ways that you can continue to be involved. Very important to lend your voice to this. And so, as Wendy was saying, thank you to everyone who participates in this program. Thank you also, Jerry, for putting the link in the chat. This link lets you sign up to receive an advocacy toolkit. If you have not participated in this aspect of our program last year, please do go and sign up so that we can get these toolkits to you. So we're waiting, we're just a couple of minutes away from the mayor's address this evening. I do want to remind you, you do not have to leave this platform to watch the address. Please do share insight, thoughts, comments you have with all of us in the chat during the address. And I would like to say, you know, we all share the vision that our mayor has, that San Diego has the capacity to be a really great city. You know, he talked about this at last year's mayoral address. And we've all talked with him about this at various points throughout the year. Not just a great city, not just a fine city, but really the greatest, you know? And part of what makes that possible is being able to make investments into the services that make our communities great themselves, such as libraries. Libraries are infrastructure. The library system itself is an infrastructural, crucial part of your community. And it's the kind of infrastructure that makes our neighborhoods and our communities truly world-class. So stay on the platform. Please do participate in the chat. We're all very eager to see what the mayor has to say. This will be his first mayoral address after a full year being in the office. And I know that he has been a very outspoken advocate for our libraries, for our neighborhood services.
Please proceed to the exit. Thank you.
And we look forward to working with him and with the city council going forward. I think we almost are ready. The feed is getting started now. So yeah, please do stay on the platform here. Please put your thoughts, comments, and questions and concerns in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you after the address.
Good evening. I'm Shawnee Lou Rivera, Council President of the San Diego City Council and representative of the 9th Council District. Welcome to our second virtual State of the City streaming live from the San Diego Convention Center. Tonight, we look forward to the 2022 State of the City Address by our Mayor, the Honorable Todd Gloria. Joining me are my esteemed colleagues who represent you on the San Diego City Council. From District 1, the Honorable Joe LaCava. From District 2, the Honorable Dr. Jennifer Campbell. From District 3, the Honorable Stephen Whitburn. From District 4, the Honorable Council President Pro Tem, Monica Montgomery Stepp. From District 5, the Honorable Marnie Von Wilber. From District 6, the Honorable Chris Cate. From District 7, the Honorable Raul Campillo. From District 8, the Honorable Vivian Moreno. Also joining us this evening, our City Attorney, the Honorable Mara Elliott, our Chief Operating Officer, Jay Goldstone, our Interim Independent Budget Analyst, Jeff Kowar, our City Clerk, Elizabeth Mayland, and our City Auditor, Andy Hanau. Welcome. We would like to begin the State of the City by respectfully acknowledging that our city is built on the lands of the Kumeyaay Nation and have invited John Crispin, Chairman of the Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians, to share with us a native blessing.
Auken Chway, Awem Payo, Maiha Set King, Dili Pai Nyamat Pi Show, Kuchuut Pi Show, Ipai Bekanuch Winwich Show, Dili Pai Kamti Pool Show, in Yawap Mat Pi Ratutlam Kawak, and Yakam, Awikam, Kwashin Ipai, Kuma. So what I said this evening, as we gather together, we're blessing everyone that has come here today. We bless the less fortunate, those inflicted with the deadly virus, and the poor, the less fortunate, and that the blessing come for all of us and for the future. Thank you.
San Diego has a rich landscape of diverse religious communities and a range of interfaith organizations. This evening's invocation is a unity prayer by three esteemed local faith leaders: Rabbi Jason Navarez from Congregation Beth Israel, Pastor Nate Stewart from Greater Life Church, and Imam Taha Hassan from the Islamic Center of San Diego.
Oh God, in this moment, invite us to listen and to pay attention to our oneness in love and wisdom, in compassion and in humility. We ask for your help today, oh God, to listen and to pay attention to one another in these challenging and unprecedented times, as our elected leaders guide our beautiful city of San Diego. We know that the needs are many and the time is short. Yet through the cracks and the heaviness of this time, enable them to forge a path forward through their courage, through their resilience, their optimism, and their hope. And as we slowly emerge from our own unique separateness, each day let our leaders and each of us find gratitude to honor one another's unique divinity, so that we all may bring light where it is needed, as we listen, as we pay attention, and as we act together.
Father, thank you for every public servant involved in governing our great city, our states, and our country. My prayer is that you help them to see that they are your servants first and foremost. And please empower us as citizens to give them the respect due their office, whether or not we agree with their political positions or not. Give our leaders in our city, our mayor, the grace to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before you in all integrity. May they defend the oppressed, protect the virtuous, and discipline wrongdoers as needed. Please give them the wisdom to enact laws and regulations that foster an environment where every citizen can flourish spiritually, socially, and physically.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the Lord of the worlds, we pray to you and in your name with humbleness and humility. We pray for your blessings and guidance. So bless us all with your divine guidance. Help us to turn our ears to wisdom, our minds to understanding, and our hearts to compassion. Grant us the strength and power to keep working for the well-being of all the people, praying and hoping to achieve peace and justice for all. Almighty God, guide us to pure conviction, then give us the courage to match this conviction with actions. We pray for peace, not violence, love, not hate, justice, not oppression, benevolence, not greed, unity, not division, humility, not arrogance, and we commit ourselves to not betraying our prayers with actions that contradict them. We pray for the safety and the well-being for all people and their properties in our city, county, state, nation, and the whole world. Families in their homes, worshipers in their houses of worship, workers in their workplace, and students in their schools. We pray for our city, the finest city of San Diego, and its elected officials, that they use the authority given to them by the people to serve the people, all the people, with respect and integrity, and to restore dignity so our city can heal and prosper.
Amen.
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 Our democracy depends upon the participation of our diverse population, including our youth, who are not only our future, but are talented and inspiring leaders who contribute every day in making San Diego and the world a better place. Leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance is the 2022 inaugural Mayor for a Day contest winner and a second grade student at Sandberg Elementary, Ayala Niles.
Happy New Year! My name is Ayala, and this is my school, Sandberg. Today I'm going to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your hand over your heart and follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The City of San Diego would like to thank all frontline workers who have spent the past 2 years committing to the fight against COVID-19. In honor of their sacrifices, especially those of our healthcare workers, Ryan Jirovec from Scripps Health will be singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you to each of the community members who participated in our program this evening, and for all that you do to make our city a better place for all of us. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the 37th Mayor of the City of San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria, who will deliver the State of the City address.
Good evening. Council President Elo Rivera, Council President Pro Tem Montgomery Stepp, and members of the City Council, City Attorney Elliott, Chief Operating Officer Goldstone, Acting Independent Budget Analyst Quar, City Clerk Malin, and City Auditor Hanau. I'd also like to welcome our state and regional elected officials, military leaders, local tribal leaders, international officials from Baja California, throughout Mexico and around the world, and our outstanding City of San Diego employees, my fellow San Diegans. Last year, I spoke to you just 1 month into my service as your mayor and acknowledged the state of our city was fragile. I did so amid rising COVID-19 cases, a housing and homelessness crisis, a budget emergency due to the pandemic, careless and possibly fraud-tainted real estate deals with no accountability, an uncertain economy, and rock-bottom morale among our city workforce. Of course, I wish this year I could deliver this address to you in person with the news that most of our woes were behind us. I am able to report that, yes, we have made a lot of progress on the issues I've just mentioned, as well as many more. However, we still find ourselves in the midst of a pandemic. The difference this year is that we now have widely available vaccines that can spare us from the worst of the virus that has upended our lives. And I'm proud to say most San Diegans have chosen to get vaccinated, including 88% of our city's workforce. To all those who have gotten vaccinated, thank you. Thank you for doing your part to wake us up from this nightmare that has claimed 4,500 precious lives here in San Diego County. Like the pandemic, none of the challenges that face our city have fast or easy fixes, and all of them are going to take a unified, concerted effort for us to truly solve. Over the last year, we have seen that we have it in us to do just that. And let me explain. I'm speaking to you tonight from the San Diego Convention Center. Early in the pandemic, when thousands of homeless San Diegans needed refuge from COVID-19, it was here that we came together, city workers, county workers, social service and healthcare providers, to get folks off the streets and keep them safe. We served 5,000 people over that time as a part of Operation Shelter to Home. In the end, more than 1,400 individuals and families were connected to permanent or long-term housing. It was also here that our region came together to provide shelter to thousands of children who arrived on our border without their families, fleeing horrific violence in their home countries. Together, we cared for more than 2,400 children until they could be reunited with family or sponsors in the United States. Both of these operations had dozens of partner agencies and nonprofits that tapped San Diego's talent, compassion, and political will to get things done. And they reminded a pandemic-battered region that we can handle a crisis and solve big problems. It's this can-do attitude, spirit of collaboration, and focus on results that has guided my first year as mayor and our approach to tackling the challenges we face. Now, a State of the City address is typically an opportunity to rattle off a list of accomplishments and give a sunny outlook of the year ahead. But these are not typical times. I'd love to rehash the past year's many wins on climate, transportation, fiscal discipline, and more, and to celebrate the people and organizations who made them happen, because I'm so proud of them. But the last 2 years have left all of us short on patience for happy talk. I listen to San Diegans every day. I know they love our city like I do. But it's also clear that they're impatient for solutions to the many long-standing problems we face. And believe me, I am too. When I leave my home every morning, I see what you see. I see cracked and buckling sidewalks outside my front door, and I ride over rutted and potholed streets on my way to work. Like you, I see people camping on our sidewalks, many who are obviously sick and cannot take care of themselves. I see everything getting more expensive, from gas to groceries to rent, and our city falling short of what it could and should be. And like you, I refuse to accept that this is the best that we can do. So tonight is not a time for a typical speech, because these are not typical times. Instead, I'm going to focus this address on 4 of the most pressing problems facing our city, the issues that are front of mind for San Diegans right now, and I will tell you how we are going to fix them. Let's start with our decades-long backlog of critical infrastructure repairs our city faces and that I will not put off any longer. By and large, these are core systems that are aging, outdated, often neglected, and in some cases in danger of failing. In 2021, we budgeted nearly $1 billion for critical infrastructure work. That's 4.5 times the amount we put towards infrastructure just a decade ago. Last year, we broke ground on Pure Water San Diego, the largest infrastructure project in our city's history that puts us on the cutting edge of drinking water technology. Decades in the making, this project will supply nearly half of our city's water by 2035 and reduce the amount of treated sewage we're sending into the ocean by upwards of 50%. Phase 1 of Pure Water includes 11 construction projects that provide more than 1,000 high-quality jobs, good union jobs that pay competitive wages and support working families. When Pure Water is complete, our city will be far less vulnerable to droughts, natural disasters, and the impacts of climate change. It is an example of what we can do when diverse groups, environmentalists, labor, and business pull together to make big things happen. This is the kind of all-hands-on-deck approach we need to repair our stormwater infrastructure. The fee that we charge to maintain our pipes, culverts, drains, and treatment facilities hasn't been updated in almost 25 years. And as a result, we've fallen behind on critically needed improvements to protect our beaches and waterways. Now, we've added 40 positions to the city's stormwater department to help us catch up, and we've made real progress on a funding strategy and a path forward. Infrastructure investments ensure that our city is safe and functioning, but they're the kind of investment that traditionally gets neglected because it hasn't been considered sexy. For years, the response to our poor street conditions has been to slurry seal as many miles as possible and call that road repair, when actually it's just maintenance. Our road network needs more intensive and costly repairs. I'm talking about repaving and reconstruction. In communities like Mira Mesa and Midway, we're now making the investments and doing the real work that needs to be done. Rather than chalking up miles of easy fixes and cul-de-sacs, we'll be diligently restoring segments of the roads most traveled, like Euclid Avenue, Skyline Drive, Orange Avenue, Balboa Avenue, Claremont Mesa Boulevard. And for the first time ever, the city is using equity as a key factor in where we allocate our road repair funding, ensuring that historically underserved neighborhoods get the investments they need. My Sexy Streets initiative prioritizes these neighborhoods and will result in 54 additional miles of quality road repairs across the city, from San Ysidro Boulevard in the south to Highland Valley Road in the north. You'll see my administration is focused on making sure that our investments reach all communities. We will also update our street preservation ordinance to ensure that when anyone digs into our roads to do underground work, they repair their excavation and reimburse the city for its cost. For years, the city hasn't recouped the full cost of these repairs, and taxpayers have had to pay the bill. This changes now. Updating our street preservation ordinance will reverse the slow degradation of our streets, minimize long-term damage, and make sure that everyone pays their fair share. And because we can't fix the damn roads fast enough, this spring we will present to the City Council a new initiative aimed at delivering infrastructure improvements faster and more equitably across our city. Similar to my Parks for All of Us master plan that was adopted by the City Council this past year, we'll create a citywide infrastructure funding program rather than the old siloed system that has left some communities behind and millions of dollars unspent. This will streamline funding availability and project prioritization citywide, which in turn allows for faster improvements for all our communities. And we know that help from the federal government is on the way. I want to thank President Biden and our congressional delegation for passing a once-in-a-generation bipartisan infrastructure bill. Because infrastructure is a regional issue as much as a local issue, and to ensure success, we can't go it alone. That's why I've launched a collaborative regional working group with our transit agencies, the port, the county, and the airport to advocate as a region to ensure that San Diego gets our fair share of these new federal dollars. Working together as a region will help us to fund major projects like the transportation improvements that accompany the Terminal 1 replacement at the airport, an integrated electric vehicle charging network, and enhancements to our trolley system. It will help us to compete for funding to address our aging water and stormwater systems, expand our city's bike networks, and make our streets safer and more accessible for cyclists and pedestrians of all ages and all abilities. Further, our infrastructure projects are being planned and executed in alignment with our updated climate action plan and our climate resilient SD plan to ensure that moving forward, we consider sustainability and the climate crisis when we make our decisions. Now, I'll be honest with you. These improvements are costly and they take time, but we are doing everything we can to streamline these projects to get them done as quickly as possible. Our public infrastructure is the foundation for a high quality of life, and improving our core systems is a top priority of mine. Equally foundational to our quality of life is living up to our obligation to keep San Diegans safe. Of course, COVID-19 has added a profound burden on that front as well. And we are so grateful to all public safety personnel who, at even greater risk to their lives than usual, never faltered in their commitment to our residents. Our police officers, firefighters, lifeguards, and paramedics have been handling an incredible surge in emergency calls over the past 2 years, and they have made us all so very proud. The past several years has also seen rising crime in cities across the nation, and that includes San Diego. Crime rose here by 13% last year, with violent crime up nearly 11%. Shootings, assaults, homicides, domestic and gang violence are all up. Disturbingly, hate crimes have also increased by 65%. None of this is acceptable. Lawlessness will not rule the day in our city. We must get illegal guns off the streets. We must disrupt the gang violence taking innocent lives, and those who commit crimes against the people of this city must be held accountable. So hear me clearly. We will continue to provide our police department and city attorney the resources they need to keep you and your family safe and respond to crime and hold criminals accountable. We'll pay them competitive wages, ensure they can retire with dignity, and most of all, we'll make sure they protect every San Diegan. You should be able to dial 911 and have an officer show up quickly to give you the help you called for. And this help should come without excessive use of force, racial profiling, or any abuse by the men and women who are sworn to protect and serve. A great city can fully fund and support its law enforcement officers while also ensuring they honor their oath. This is why I look forward to the City Council's adoption of an ordinance that implements the voter-approved Independent Commission on Police Practices, which I have fully funded in the budget. I will also be forwarding to the City Council a privacy ordinance that will allow us to deploy technology to keep communities safe without infringing on their privacy rights. We can and will strike the balance between protecting residents and respecting their civil rights and civil liberties. San Diego has long been one of the safest big cities in America. As your mayor, I am determined to keep it so. No one will be surprised that what's highest on San Diegans' list of worries is our homelessness crisis. It's what residents across our city talk to me about more than any other issue by far, and it remains my highest priority. During my first year in office, I have deployed a more compassionate, person-centered approach to our homeless residents, offering them shelter and services while also carrying out our responsibility to enforce our city laws. But folks, here's where I want to level with you. While the complaints about homelessness are common, the proposed solutions to it are wildly divergent and frequently contradictory. At one end of the spectrum are residents demanding that we criminalize homelessness. On the others are those decrying any enforcement of our laws against setting up camp on the sidewalk. It's this kind of conflict that has historically paralyzed leaders on this crisis. To get past this paralysis, we must first acknowledge that our unsheltered population is as diverse as the general population. They're people. People who come from a vast array of circumstances with different backgrounds, upbringings, and traumas. Some are merely down on their luck and landed on the street because of a financially crippling medical bill or job loss that led to eviction. All they need is a job and some minimal case management, and they're on their way. Many others are deeply distrustful and traumatized, or perhaps they struggle with substance abuse or mental illness and refuse offers of help. But let's be clear. In no circumstance is it compassionate to let people live on the sidewalk. No one wants that. You don't want that, and I don't want that. So this is what we're going to do about it. First, we will continue to aggressively increase the amount of permanent supportive housing in our city. Housing with services ends homelessness. In 2021, we created 132 units of permanent supportive housing, and we have nearly 1,000 more in the pipeline. Last year, San Diego partnered with other big California cities to push for a massive state investment in homelessness response. Governor Newsom and our state delegation came through with a $14 billion package. From that, San Diego will receive nearly $55 million, as well as a portion of $3 billion from Project HomeKey, which will enable us to purchase hotels and other facilities to bring on an additional 300 units of permanent supportive housing. In addition, through the American Rescue Plan, the city has received $21 million in federal funding to create new homes for low-income residents, as well as 480 new housing vouchers. Now, as much as permanent supportive housing is the solution to end homelessness, we have to be realistic. This housing won't be built overnight. And that's why we have to work to create more housing and expand shelter bed capacity to get folks off the streets now. After we closed Operation Shelter to Home, we had approximately 1,100 shelter beds across our system. Today, we've increased our shelter beds to over 1,300, a 21% increase in capacity in just 1 year. In addition, thanks to an unprecedented level of collaboration with the County of San Diego and Chair Nathan Fletcher, we opened our first community harm reduction shelter specifically for people who struggle with addiction and co-occurring mental illness. This year, we remain focused on exploring every feasible option to expand our shelter capacity. This includes city-owned sites like the old Central Library in downtown. We're working to add safe haven centers in collaboration with the county to provide longer-term care for our unsheltered population with the most acute behavioral health and substance abuse needs. The bottom line is, the street is not a home, and we will not be a city that's content with allowing people to sleep on the sidewalk or in a riverbed or a also important to note that our shelter system relies on effective outreach to fill those beds. Last March, we launched our coordinated street outreach program and then nearly doubled the program in the budget that took effect in July. These outreach workers are the folks who do the painstaking work of getting often reluctant population to accept shelter and get on the path to end their homelessness for good. We've already seen the results of this outreach surge in the increasing occupancy of our shelters, which are now regularly more than 90% full. It's encouraging that more and more people are accepting offers of assistance and shelter. It's not a given that everyone will take steps to improve their situation, but this progress is a hopeful sign. We're working with our homeless services providers like the Housing Commission, Alpha Project, PATH, CityNet, the Regional Task Force, and Father Joe's Villages, as well as our local community colleges to expand outreach in order to reach more people experiencing homelessness. It saddens me to say that there are people our teams will never be able to reach, and we need to be honest about that. The truth is that there are people on our streets who are not capable of taking care of themselves or making the conscious decision to seek help. One of our society's most egregious failings is neglecting to care for people suffering from severe mental illness. This problem has been exacerbated by the explosion of opioids, fentanyl, and methamphetamine on our streets. This is not a problem that's unique to San Diego. It is a crisis born half a century ago as large psychiatric institutions closed, involuntary commitments were ended, and a sufficient network of community-based treatment centers failed to materialize. The result has been decades of homelessness, with jails and emergency rooms becoming the de facto housing for those who are too mentally ill to care for themselves. It is long past time for our society to come to grips with this enormous problem and actually do something. That's why I'm working with City Attorney Mara Elliott to use conservatorships in cases of extreme mental illness among our unsheltered neighbors. But the fact is that current state law on conservatorship is too restrictive. So this year, I'm pushing for state action on conservatorships so that people who cannot help themselves aren't left vulnerable to the dangers of life on the streets. Solving homelessness is made more difficult by the housing crisis we are experiencing, a shortage created over many decades as we failed to build to accommodate our growth. The shortage of homes everyday San Diegans can afford is splitting up families, making it harder for our businesses to attract and retain workers, and threatening to deprive our region of the talented young people who work so hard in our educational system and our world-class universities. We are tackling this issue aggressively with policy changes and programs that will meaningfully address a disastrous failure to plan for the growth we have long known was coming. We knew it was coming because most of the growth is from people born and raised here in San Diego, residents who grew up here and who want to remain here to raise families of their own. And so we cannot lose our resolve to house our own children in the face of people who fear change and mobilize to block improvements in our neighborhoods. That's not how a thriving city works. In 2021, we issued building permits and entitlements that will create as many as 12,000 new homes, with more than 6,500 in the pipeline right now. Building on that momentum, this past year, I launched my Homes for All of Us housing initiative with more than a dozen separate proposals aimed at making it easier to build homes that working and middle-class San Diegans can afford. One of those proposals, Blueprint SD, will modernize the way we update our community plans, the plans for how our neighborhoods accommodate population growth. Blueprint SD will dramatically reduce the time it takes to update them, from more than 5 years down to as little as 2. This means that we can plan for new housing where it makes the most sense for our communities and then build it faster than ever. Homes for All of Us also features 2 housing action packages that include policy changes, such as making it easier to include housing above city facilities like libraries and fire stations, creating affordable housing in communities that don't have it, and implementing Senate Bill 9, statewide legislation authored by Senate Leader Tony Atkins that permits more homes on lots currently allow just 1. I'm also excited to announce tonight that the City of San Diego will officially opt in to Senate Bill 10, which will make it far easier to build apartments close to mass transit. My first housing action package will go to the City Council for consideration tomorrow, with additional proposals coming soon after. Taken together, Homes for All of Us will allow us to build far more homes that San Diegans can afford, close to transit options and in all of our communities. Tonight, I'm also announcing another city housing program, Bridge to Home. This is a program administered by our city's Economic Development Department and is so named because it helps bridge the gap that affordable housing builders face when trying to make their projects work financially. 7 projects across the city have been selected to receive financing assistance from the city. These 7 projects alone will add 662 units of rental housing to our supply of affordable housing, 193 of which will be reserved for folks experiencing homelessness. And this is just the beginning. Funding of up to $20 million more in round 2 will be announced very, very soon. In 2022, we will continue our progress on major opportunities to provide housing where it makes sense as we update community plans for University City, Mira Mesa, Hillcrest, the college area, and the neighborhood where I grew up, Claremont. These communities offer the possibility of growing smart with new homes near transit that will connect residents to job centers across our region. We are legally and morally obligated to plan to add more than 100,000 new homes during the next 8 years. And folks, we are getting it done. Now, I realize the report I've given you tonight is likely not what you expected. But this is not the time for telling you what you want to hear. It's about telling you what you need to know. And what you need to know is that the road ahead is full of hard work. But I've never been afraid of hard work, and neither is our city. I am as hopeful and optimistic as I ever have been because I do believe that San Diego is on its way. I ran for this office on the promise of reinvigorating San Diego with a jolt of big city energy, fostering a culture of yes that will help us to ascend to our rightful place as one of the greatest cities in the country. And we can see it unfolding already with transformational projects across our city, large and small. We see it all over town as restaurants take advantage of our new Spaces as Places program, establishing permanent outdoor operations, boosting their business, and creating more vibrant commercial districts. We'll soon see it in the Midway community, where we'll build thousands of affordable homes to help address our housing crisis, along with a new entertainment venue to replace the existing sports arena, creating a walkable, bikeable community that is full of life. We can see it in the new innovation hub that we are bringing to the Valencia Business Park in southeastern San Diego. This new campus will host businesses and organizations that focus on sustainability and provide jobs and internships in the neighborhood. We'll see it this spring in Balboa Park when we break ground on a major restoration of the iconic Botanical Building and usher in a new era of investment in our city's crown jewel. You can see it today in the Symphony's beautiful new shell on the waterfront and the soon-to-be completed Snapdragon Stadium in Mission Valley. And we can see the big city energy in our recently adopted regional transportation plan that will transform our mobility network and protect our quality of life for generations to come. So while we have daunting work ahead of us, we can see the fruits of our labor all around us. San Diego, as I think about the people I have visited with over the past year in communities across our beautiful city, and as I consider the progress we've made and the work that lies ahead, I can say that the state of our city is ready. We are ready to responsibly put the COVID-19 pandemic behind us, ready to provide homes and services for those who are unsheltered and struggling, ready to build back our economy stronger than ever, ready to fix our streets, our pipes, and our public facilities, ready to fight the housing crisis and the climate crisis with everything we've got, ready to build equity into everything we do and make San Diego a place where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, ready to say yes to positive, transformational change and become the truly great city that I know we are, a city where others will seek to emulate us. And to those who doubt our ability or our resolve, I refer you to what San Diego did right here in this building just a short time ago. It would have been unimaginable that we could convert our convention center into a homeless shelter practically overnight to provide safety to homeless San Diegans during a pandemic, but we did it. Some could never have envisioned that we could come together under this same roof to provide refuge to thousands of immigrant children and show them the very best of America. But we did it. And in that very same year, after the worst economic slowdown in nearly 100 years, pick ourselves up and welcome major conventions and events back to this center, including our beloved Comic-Con. But we did it. All right here in San Diego. This is why I have so much faith in our ability to drive change on the major issues I've outlined tonight. Because amid the darkest of times and under the most difficult circumstances, we have seen a challenge, stepped up, come together, and we triumphed. This says to me that we can and will do it again. Our challenges are great. The road ahead is long, and there is so much work to do. But San Diego, we are ready. Thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless our great city.
Thank you, Mayor Gloria, for your very passionate words this evening and the look ahead for our city. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, and I want to thank our Libraries Transform SD Coalition partners, the Commission, and the Friends, represented by Wendy and Joan, for joining us this evening. I will say that I am concerned that broader commitments for investments in neighborhood services and investments in the libraries were absent in tonight's address. So I do want to encourage you to join us as a library advocate. Use your advocacy toolkits to tell the mayor, to tell the council that libraries are critical infrastructure. Libraries provide core systems that are vital for our communities. Thank you all again for joining us this evening, and I look forward to championing our libraries with you this year. Good night.